the cold and dry. Find a place where we can spend the days. Spend the days and build a home. Spend the days and make us one at a time with our bare.
When you are put in something in print, you're kind of immortalized. It's different than on a blog where you read this interview, you look at the photo for 2 seconds, and then you have a Facebook notification, so you move on to the next thing in life. Mixtape Magazine is a quarterly Canadian print magazine that focuses on just getting inside the Canadian music scene. Canada is just such a big country, and there are so many musicians in Canada that it's not hard to find content on Canadian artists in all kinds of genres: folk, pop, electronica, punk. There's just a lot of creative stuff coming out of Canada, and we want to just focus and highlight on that.
I think Mixtape gives a different perspective on why Canadian music is important, because it's a perspective that not a lot of people get to see. So for instance, for my piece with Brad Weber, I actually interviewed him at Evolve Music Festival in Antigonish over the summer, and he had a crazy day where he was playing a DJ set, he was playing with Pick a Piper, and he was also drumming in Loopsy Daisy. And he gave me his time, and we just sat on a grassy hill underneath some trees, and he just told me about the projects he'd been working on. And that's just something that I think not a lot of people get to experience. And with big box publications, that's just not the kind of heart that they have in the stories. And I think that's what makes Mixtape important.
So the idea of the magazine came from the King's journalism program. Everyone who works on the magazine, with the exception of a few people, we met at King's doing the journalism program. There's a magazine workshop, so 5 of us basically put together a magazine from scratch in 6 weeks. And this is just a continuation of the groundwork that was laid in the King's program. I started a music blog in 2010 called The Broken Speaker. So I've been writing about music for a while, going to shows, interviewing bands, that sort of thing, and I wanted to take it another step further.
I guess it's kind of exciting because if I'm walking down the streets in Halifax, I'll see some artists that I recognize, and then I'll go home at the end of the workday, and then I'll have a message from someone on the team showing me a project they'd been working on earlier in the day, and bam, it's a photo of Moon, and I had just seen their lead singer walking down the street earlier that day, and there they are in our magazine. So it's just little things that come together that just make you really, really excited about the project you're working on.
What we try to do is we try to just get in really close to the Canadian music scene. So that means going to musicians' houses to interview them, and just seeing their spaces where they make the music happen. In our fall issue, we have a cover story with Paper Lions. So we went to PEI, where they're from, and we went to Belfast, the small town where they grew up in. We went to the church where their dad pastors. We climbed up the tower, and they basically just pointed all around the town from this tower, showing us, this is where we built big forts. This was the shed that we were afraid of because allegedly they kept dead bodies in there. So this sort of thing where you can't get that from just doing a phone interview. Another feature we like to do is track by track, which is where we sit down with an artist, go through each song on their new album, and we find out the story behind it. And I think as a reader, that's great, because when you listen to the song the next time, you're not just hearing the words of the song or the instruments, you're hearing the story, you know where it came from. That's part of the mixtape model, is just getting right in there, kind of getting our hands dirty. And it's a lot of fun to hang out with musicians.
For me, musicians are kind of like celebrities. There's just something about them that's intriguing, and being a writer, this gives me a creative outlet that I get to talk to them, hear their stories of people that I otherwise wouldn't have the chance to meet.
We're focusing on the Canadian music scene because we've identified that as a niche market. There's lots of magazines that cover international bands. You look at a magazine like Exclaim, lots of Canadian content, but their latest issue, for example, has an American artist, Janelle Monáe, on the cover. So we want something that's all Canadian.
The Canadian music scene can be overlooked. just because we are so close to the States, and a lot of people spend a lot of time online looking at maybe British musicians or American musicians, and our product gives local and national artists a chance to be seen.
Having a print magazine, we needed somewhere to sell, so the first place I went to ask was at Obsolete Records, because it's a local record store that focuses on selling physical products, and I've been coming here for years to buy records, so naturally I asked a local store that specializes in tangible items.
It's definitely a challenge, considering all of us have other focuses, so we all have other jobs or projects on the go, things to pay the bills, and we do this just out of the love in our hearts for it. And so it involves a lot of emailing, a lot of texting, a lot of calls, and basically you're just on the clock 24/7 just trying to make ends meet. But when we saw the PDFs that were going to the printer, it just made everything completely worth it.
People can find more information on our website, mixtapemagazine.ca. We're also on Instagram and Twitter at mixtape_mag. You can pick up the magazine online through our online store. It's just store.mixtapemagazine.ca. You can also pick it up at Atlantic News and Obsolete Records in Halifax.
I think people should read Mixtape Magazine because we have something that no one else in Canada has to offer.
Mixtape Magazine is an insider's guide to the Canadian music scene. We're gonna take you places that you've never been before.
Thank you.